So I'm Mark Punsak, VP of Product Strategy. I've been at GitLab for almost 4 years now. I'm really psyched to be here, which I thought was the first sales kickoff, but as we just found out, there was another sales meeting before. So it may not be the first, but it's definitely the best sales kickoff we've had, right? All right. I'm really psyched to be here because I get to talk about the product strategy and vision. And obviously that's near and dear to my heart, but I hope it's also really important for you guys as well. And we just heard from Sid and Michael some really great updates about the company, GitLab, the company. My personal favorite, 100 million ARR. Huge, huge milestone. We've been a unicorn for a while, and that's a pretty amazing achievement already, but that's really about what investors, how much money they give us or how much they value us. ARR is about what customers, how much money they give us, and that is so much more important. And 100 million ARR is telling us that we're actually delivering really, really great customer value, that what we've built means something to them. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what we've built with GitLab, the product. All right, so for product strategy and vision, I'm going to kick it off talking about a little bit where we are at today, and then go into the future, talking about where we're looking at 3 years from now, or our long-term vision. Then I'm going to drop it down a little bit to talk about the one-year plan. And to do that, I'm going to bring a bunch of product folks on the stage to talk about where we're putting our investments. And then there's a couple special topics, and then we're going to save some time for Q&A. So think about your questions while I'm going through all this stuff. So we all know software is eating the world. And DevOps is transforming how companies deliver that software. But the problem with most DevOps tool change is that they're just not solving enough. I mean, we're already investing billions in this, or our customers are investing billions. But there's so much waste and overhead, and ultimately just people are disappointed with what they're doing. And this is the problem right here. It's the DevOps tool chain, right? How many things do you have to string together to make, to form your DevOps tool chain? And when you think about everything you need from planning a project through creating the code, testing it, packaging it up, deploying it, configuring the infrastructure, monitoring it in production, securing it, I mean, that's just a ton of stuff. And chaining these tools together comes at a real cost, integration complexity. This is the tool chain crisis. So you need people dedicated to design, build, and maintain these integrations. And those integrations are really brittle and fail. And worst of all is that the tool chain reinforces silos because different teams are using different software and so they can't communicate well together. And breaking down the silos was the whole point of DevOps in the first place. So seeing this, GitLab has evolved. We went from a single product for developers to a single product for DevOps. Source code management and CI meets continuous delivery and monitoring. But did we stop there? No, of course not. It's not enough to do some DevOps. We made GitLab a complete DevOps platform, all delivered as a single application, with management across the lifecycle, application security testing, and now even application runtime defense. By using GitLab, teams can now work out of the same application to manage their DevOps practices, and people who were previously managing toolchain integrations can now focus on tasks that add real value to the business. And this enables you to enjoy a single platform with a single data model, which is simple and secure, and enables constant collaboration and transparency. And when we say it's a complete DevOps platform, we really do mean complete. I mean, almost every category on this slide would be a whole product at another company. And yeah, you'd have to stitch all those different products together. So break the tool chain crisis and provide a single tool that everyone can use so that we can all collaborate together. And with so much breadth, GitLab can help customers replace expensive and disjointed tools and gain new capabilities they've never seen before or never been able to do before, because we're taking a single app approach, making things like seamless collaboration, real-time feedback, and fully integrated security testing a reality. And when we explain this vision to customers, They all get it, and oftentimes they'll say, yeah, that sounds great, you can help me, but my journey to DevOps is long, and your product is really broad. I mean, where do I start? With GitLab, you don't have to lift and shift. You don't have to replace everything all at once. Customers can adopt at their own pace. You'll see this slide a few more times this week, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but for now, just know that we play well with others, we integrate with the tools your customers have today, and let them adopt the complete DevOps platform and DevOps best practices on their own time. So before we go any further, I want to bring back a video for Chris Hill talking about how they've positioned GitLab within T-Mobile.
I think I could go into the door of any industry right now that's really getting dominated or at least disrupted by software, and GitLab would be well positioned to help them increase their throughput. In fact, I deal with this a lot within T-Mobile because there's a vast maturity sort of spectrum that each of our projects are on. GitLab is very helpful to people who are, maybe their project is very immature, but can also allow the people who are very mature from a project or a software development lifecycle perspective to also excel. So I feel like there's something in the product for everybody, no matter where you are on your journey. There are many other aspects that I love about the GitLab vision. One is, let's iterate to become the best, but we can do that with small batches. I heavily believe that small batches is a way that you can organically grow software development products into industry leading and market leading. And I think GitLab, because of the transparency factor, isn't afraid to say, you know what, we haven't given a big investment into category X, but if you give us feedback, we're willing to improve category X so that it can eventually become market leading. I think GitLab was really the silent killer when it came to CI. GitLab at first wasn't the best CI product in the market, but quickly with this sort of acknowledgement that it was going to take steps to get better, has helped grow the product into something that people need and desire and love. And I love more than anything the maturity model map that has a little heart indicator on whether or not a feature is loved by many, because that to me represents where GitLab has just started to make an investment versus where it's made a much larger investment and is core to the product. I kind of put my career into the GitLab promise here at T-Mobile, probably the biggest sponsor of it. It does make sense for T-Mobile right now, but from a confidence perspective and watching the amount of growth and the priorities for GitLab in terms of true ownership of their product, we're nothing but impressed that a company can move and innovate so fast while also keeping stability on their platform. I know that GitLab.com has been looked at like something that is unstable and I think had a rough summer. I think we've gotten through most of those growing pains, and we're at a place now where we are comfortable, and we do have a lot of confidence in the GitLab team.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about where GitLab is at today, and now let's talk about where we're going. So we'll start off with our 3-year strategy and some of the things that Chris just hinted at there. He talked about this chart. We all love this chart. Customers shockingly love this chart. Investors love this chart. Everybody loves this chart. This is our category maturity table. It is one of the key tools we use for planning. It shows our 3-year strategy and really even goes beyond, really for our full 10-year vision. Some of these things will take a really long time, but they all build towards our overall mission that everyone can contribute. And this is how we see that happening. And this is the public page. Everyone can see it, including all of our customers, competitors, everybody can see it. For each of the 10 stages on here, we have a bunch of product categories. And for each category, there's an icon showing how mature they are. Now, some of them we talked about have the little hearts. Those are lovable products. Those are ones that customers literally will use that word when they describe that product. But not everything here is lovable. Some are complete, so the solid circles, they're solid products, but not leaders yet. And some are just viable, meaning they're of some value to some customers, but the audience is limited still. And some are just minimal, meaning we've really just gotten started. And some are planned, meaning that they don't even exist at all. We haven't done anything with them, but we will, and we're going to get every one of these categories to lovable. In fact, we're going to even add more over time. This page is constantly in flux. Now, how exactly do we determine what ends up on that roadmap and what we'll deliver when? Well, our overall product strategy has, for the next 3 years, has 4 prongs: depth, breadth, personas, and application types. First prong is depth. And iteration is one of GitLab's core values. And for product development, that means we ship a lot of minimum viable changes. The smallest thing that you can deliver that will actually deliver some functionality. But investing in depth means going beyond the MVC and producing minimum lovable features, getting all the way to the point where customers will actually say they love that feature or the category. So take all the categories that are viable today, make them complete. And take all the categories that are complete and make them lovable. Take all the categories that are lovable, make them even more lovable. That's what depth means for us. Now, for source code management and CI, we're already leaders in the market. And we'll continue to invest to keep our leadership and make sure you've got a strong place to start selling with customers. The next 3 areas we're going to build up are project management, things like issue tracking and issue boards, and continuous delivery and release automation. So continuing to invest in deploying to Kubernetes, but really helping everyone automate their delivery and release processes. And then application security testing. We've added so much already in the past years with static and dynamic application security testing, dependency scanning, but we're going to continue to invest in all those areas and more. Now, the next prong is breadth. And for breadth, we're taking all the brand new planned categories, as well as the existing but minimal categories, and making them viable. Until it's viable, it's still just breadth. And while some of these categories are pretty far out in terms of the customer journey, we're investing now so that we're ready when the customers get there. The last, so that covers depth and breadth. The last prong here, or the third prong, sorry, is to expand the personas, or the people we design for. Now, we've started down the path of making developers, security professionals, and operations professionals as first-class citizens on our platform, letting each person have a unique experience tailored to their needs. We want GitLab to be the main interface for all of these people. Show up at work, start your day, load up GitLab. And that's already happening for some people. But there are a ton of people involved in development and delivery of software. And that's the ultimate GitLab vision, is that everyone involved with software development and delivery uses a single application so they're all on the same page with the rest of their team. We've recently launched some features for designers, and soon we'll have features for product managers, and we'll be expanding to the business side with executive visibility and reporting. Heck, maybe even legal gets involved in legal review. So while we're still calling it DevOps, we're really redefining what DevOps means and delivering it all as a single application. The last prong is application types. Application types refers to the kinds of projects that our customers create on GitLab. Now, of course, we support putting anything you want into GitLab, but there's a lot of value add on top of certain kinds of projects. So we're great at things like static sites and cloud-native web apps. There's some we could do a little bit better on, like mobile. And then there's a ton of stuff in the far future, like data science and machine learning. So before I jump into the next step, we're going to have Chris Hale talk again on their customer journey at T-Mobile.
We use it for all of our CI/CD, all of our source control management, probably about 60% of package management, including NPM, Maven, and then Docker registries, we're probably at about 70 or 80%. We have pockets of people who use issues. It is primarily Jira from an application lifecycle management perspective within T-Mobile, subject to change, hopefully. Those are really the primary areas. We just started a ton of adoption on GitLab pages now that GitLab.com has the ability to expose private projects. A lot of teams are using that because they don't want to have a heavyweight PCF or a heavyweight Kubernetes just to host a static website. Mm-hmm. That has gained a lot of traction, and I think we'll start to replace all of these very small sort of sites. You know, T-Mobile's still going through the transition, so I would say we're probably about 25% migrated at this point. And unfortunately, we still have to support the legacy platforms that are 75%. I can't tell you how much empowerment shows itself when you're using the GitLab product when you're forced to go use your old legacy tools. You know, we went originally, the legacy platforms doing about 90% unplanned work every single day and about 10% planned work every single day. The amount of thrash and chaos that it puts your organization through is detrimental to roadmaps, to increasing productivity, and ultimately fulfillment. We've really turned the decision not to move to GitLab into the stupid decision. And that just happens naturally. So anytime that somebody is showing some resistance, now they just look like they're a detractor, like they're not a team player, and ultimately getting the organization into that sort of pattern has helped the adoption process.
I like that story because it shows a relatively typical customer journey, but also highlighted a couple things. Like with GitLab Pages, there was like one little feature that was holding them back, and as soon as we delivered that feature, it unlocked their usage of GitLab Pages. But other things like their usage of Jira, probably gonna take a little bit more than just one feature to unlock that. So that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with and have to prioritize all the time. So we've talked the long term, and I think it's really important for everybody to understand the context of where we're going so that you understand what we're doing today. But I have a feeling you're probably a little bit more interested in what's coming up now, what you're gonna be able to sell within the next year. So we're gonna drop it down a little bit and talk about the one-year plan. So the 2020 product investments was under 3 big buckets. So the first is enterprise readiness. This is really a tactical thing. We've got product market fit with a ton of enterprises loving the product, but we've got a lot of friction in the system that we need to sort of suss out and reduce. So things like more flexible authentication and authorization, better compliance-related features, and better performance in very large deployments. The second is we're doubling down on our strengths. So we understand that customers almost always start with source code management and CI. So we need to continue to invest, and in fact, ramp up our investment there to really make sure that we maintain our lead so that we're best in class. Now the third investment, maybe it's a little smaller than the other two, but it's still really important for us to continue investing in the depth for the future. So there are certain areas of the product that we want to drive additional depth so that we can meet the customer when they're ready. So security, planning, and ops-related workflows are all aligned with our overall strategy, and we'll see some investments in 2020. And again, we need to be ready for when the customer gets there in their journey. So that's the themes at a high level. I'd like to invite some product experts now onto the stage to dive into their specific topics and talk about the investment focus. So the first is Josh. Come on up and talk about enterprise readiness.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so how many of you out here have had an experience where a prospect or a customer took days or even weeks to deploy an enterprise scale instance of GitLab? Anyone? Yeah, a fair number. And so what we want to do in 2020 is to take that days to weeks and to shrink it down to minutes. And we're going to do that by providing an automated deployment script that can provision a reference architecture with high availability and geo in just minutes. One of the ways we can do this is we're removing a common dependency. Oh, yeah, I'm excited too. So one of the ways we can do this is removing a common dependency, NFS, which has been a pain point that customers had to bring upfront and ongoing at scale as well. So that will be no longer required once we have GitLab HA. And we're also, of course, working to improve the next step. So what do you do once you have a GitLab instance up and running? You have to get all your projects and content onto it, right? And so we're working to improve the performance and reliability of our importers. This way, our customers have a faster time to value. They can see all the amazing benefits of GitLab and all of our single application glory with less time invested and effort up front. We also, for the folks in this room, should hopefully have a shorter sales cycle because of these improvements. We also recognize that our enterprise customers have to meet compliance standards, and we want to help them do that with GitLab Ultimate. We're increasing the coverage of all the audit events and activities in GitLab, and we're also improving our existing access control system, making it more powerful and more flexible. Our current system has taken us a long way, but for large enterprise and for customers in regulated industries, it needs to be more flexible and powerful, so we're doing that. But our customers are also, of course, building applications themselves, right? So those are helping the GitLab instance be compliant, but what about the applications they're creating? Well, we're helping our customers achieve compliance more easily with those applications they're building as well by providing an enforcement framework within GitLab to help them meet their own standards that they want to achieve for things like SOC 2 and GDPR. This will provide them with information directly in the merge request that guides them what they have to do to achieve those standards. This will help them have a quicker path to compliance for their own applications and GitLab as well, and also derive significant new value in GitLab Ultimate. Speaking of the applications our customers are building, we want to help them build those products better and faster. We'll do that by providing value stream analytics directly within GitLab to help them understand where the inefficiencies are in their DevOps practice and help them compress that cycle time that is so important. We're also addressing two of the application types that Mark mentioned earlier to help our customers who are like game companies with large repositories or perhaps Mac and iOS and Windows developers with some tools like, again, improved large repository support and Mac and Windows auto-scaling runners. This will help us unlock additional expansion to these groups within these organizations that previously may have been on a legacy solution like Chris was mentioning earlier. Chris also mentioned Jira. We have hundreds of thousands of projects with Jira integration turned on. It's one of our most popular integrations that we have, and we're making it better this year as well. We're simplifying the administration for those hundreds of thousands of projects so you can define them at the group and the instance level, making it much easier to use. And we're also surfacing much more information from GitLab up into Jira. And so users who are predominantly living in Jira or looking at issues can understand what the state of merge request is, if there's a branch created, and whether and where it's been deployed. This will help provide a better user experience for users of both of these products and help, again, migrate additional teams who may have been on a different solution until we deliver these improvements to the user experience. And last, of course, GitLab.com. We are making huge investments to make sure people like Chris Hill and Tim Hill are successful on GitLab.com. We're making organization-wide changes to prioritize availability and performance. And we're also making sure all these great features like the changes to audit and compliance and improved to role-based access control are shipping on GitLab.com as well. And also for applications like GitLab.com where there's shared services, we want to make sure that enterprises have control of their data and they're confident in that. And we're doing that by introducing an instance within an instance feature so they can better control that data and make sure users can't make unintentional mistakes and accidentally share things more broadly in these public environments like GitLab.com. This will help more customers be like Chris Hill and T-Mobile, save people and save efficiencies by running on a SaaS service and help us win and unlock these customers who would prefer to have SaaS as opposed to self-managed. So that's what we're doing for enterprise readiness. We're super excited for this year, and I'll pass it back to Mark.
If you can. Thanks, Josh. That was great. I'm sure I'm not the only one looking forward to some of those improvements, getting some of that friction out of the system, getting customers up to speed, installed and up to speed faster. Definitely great stuff. All right, next, we've got Eric up here. He's going to talk about doubling down on our strengths. Welcome, Eric.
Well, thanks so much, Mark, and it's great to be here with all of you today. I'm really excited to tell you about some of the amazing improvements we have coming to our strengths in this fiscal year. So the first thing we should do is just reinforce what our strengths are. You've heard this a number of times already, but it begs repeating. Our strengths are source code management and continuous integration, and they're lovable by measure of our category maturity framework. And they're some of the best products in the entire world in these categories. And you've seen this slide before too, but it also begs repeating. Why is it so important for us to invest into these strengths? Well, it's because this is the entry point into the product for our customers, and it's likely the entry point for you as sellers into your customer bases. We see customers having great success starting with either SCM or CI or a combination of those two, and then landing onto the product and realizing there's a ton of other functionality, either left or right, from those two pillars. Customers will go left to pick up project and portfolio management, and they'll go right to pick up things like monitoring and some of the security and defense capabilities that we have for their applications. So let's start with SCM and talk about some of the cool things that we're going to provide this year. Yes, this slide is meant to look like this. It's not a 404. But smaller repositories and repositories that are right down the fairway for Git have always been a delightful experience for our customers inside of GitLab. This is what the experience is. It's great. We see a lot of success here. But as our organization grows, and I can't believe how big this room is, our customers' complexity is also growing. We're having a lot of huge repositories coming into our sales pipelines. And just a quick show of hands. Who kind of feels like this when they go into a conversation with a huge repository with a customer? Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's not a great thing, right? And we want to make a lot of investments to make this better. So we're going to do this by investing into partial clone. Partial clone is an upstream Git feature that we've contributed to and is also available already inside of GitLab. Partial clone is the ability to selectively choose which files you want to bring down to your local instance when you clone a GitLab repository. It's great for game developers that want to basically check out a small portion of the code and work on that without bringing the entire history of all these binary assets for design files and other things like that. We're also continuing to make improvements into faster cloning. And then we just released parent and child pipelines, which is really useful for mono repositories because it helps customers segregate their pipelines to not have a whole bunch of dependencies when you just need to work on a small chunk of a repository. So this will help you win new deals with large repos and have a much better conversation when you go into those conversations. We're also going to maintain our lead on top of GitHub. We're going to do this by investing into native code intelligence, which is the ability to jump to definition and find references throughout your code base. Right now, GitHub supports those 5 languages highlighted in the box, and we're going to support up to 24 by the end of the year. We'll also smartly assign code reviewers to merge requests. And we're also working on next-gen real-time collaboration for merge requests, which will help it be a lot more efficient when people are collaborating right inside the merge request. And as Josh already talked about, we're going to be investing into a highly available Git architecture. Our customers who are self-managed have a great experience today with how they deploy, how they configure, how they install and upgrade their deployments. But in order to use a highly available Git instance, you have to use NFS, which comes with some significant performance penalties. So our customers have this awful choice. Do you want a highly available architecture with poor performance, or do you want better performance with a single point of failure? And I'm really excited to announce that in the next 2 releases, we're going to have our first release of highly available Gitly. Yeah, we can clap for that. Woo! And we know this is blocking a lot of huge deals. And in fact, based on some of our IACV calculations, it may be one of the highest IACV features that we can prioritize this year. And we're going to be introducing a lot more improvements to this. We have a foundation we believe we can build from. and we'll be working on this all year. So please collaborate with us and bring us into those customer conversations as you're having them. Our second strength, continuous integration, or CI. We know that this is something that is really required for our customers to get to ultimate and also for them to deliver better products faster. We want to do this by enabling things like progressive deployments and multi-platform support for runners, as well as some of our deployment options. And we know how important compliance is to our customers, so we're going to be enabling compliance options when they use GitLab releases. And lastly, as we've talked about before and we're continuing to work on, our integration with HashiCorp's Vault product for secrets management right inside of GitLab. And one more thing about our investment into strengths. Migrating from Jenkins. We know how important it is for our customers to easily move from Jenkins into GitLab CI. In fact, if you were in attendance at the virtual customer advisory board meeting last week, you heard from one of our very large customers who talked about the fact that they had to set up their own internal knowledge base to consolidate examples, templates, and other documentation just to help onboard new team members into GitLab CI. That should be in our public-facing documentation, not in a customer's internal knowledge base. So we're going to be collaborating with our tech writing teams, customer success, and engineering to make that better, but also invest and deliver a lift and shift Jenkins importer in the first half of this year. Woo! I'm so excited for the things our strengths are going to be getting invested into this year. I hope you are as well, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Eric. Really great to hear how we're doubling down on our strengths there. All those things build up to make our product even more of a leader and keep the distance from our competition. Next up, we've got David here to talk about how we're going into depth on security.
Thank you. So just to kick us off, several of you have come up to me. You thought the picture on Zoom calls was a like hacked Zoom Snapchat filter. It is actually real. So when we talk about investing into security, we're talking about bringing world-class security into DevSecOps. 2019 was another record-breaking year for data breaches. There's some stats up there on the slide. That probably comes as no surprise to you, but it is becoming more and more expensive to mitigate and recover from a data breach. We want our customers to write more secure code, and using secure as part of their workflow, they'll be able to do that. To accomplish our goal, we have three main themes for this year. The first is we want to be identified as an application security testing leader. We also want to continue to help shift security left and get as close to the developers as possible. And then we want to support our customers on their journey to Ultimate by allowing them to bring in their existing security tools and use them within the Ultimate experience. So when we talk about application security testing, or AST, Gartner has defined that as products that test applications for security vulnerabilities. They've also included 6 main components in their definition. And today, we support 3 of those with our categories, and those are SAST, DAST, and dependency scanning. Our goal in 2020 is to add an additional category to support that and get us much closer to that definition. Before I kind of dive into how we're going to get there, I do want to let you know that this year is the first year Gartner's included GitLab in their AST Magic Quadrant. And those results will be available later this year, around the summertime, and as soon as they're available, we'll make it available to you to use. So today, we're at a viable maturity, as Mark showed earlier, related to SAST, DAST, and dependency scanning. And that gets us about 30% coverage to that definition. Through the course of the year, we're going to be accelerating the maturity for SAST, DAST, and dependency scanning to complete, and we're going to jump fuzz testing from not available today to viable. And that gets us to 75% coverage on that definition. The 2 things remaining are planned for outside of 2020, which is mobile security testing, as well as, I believe it was their license compliance. But we will be jumping toward, I'm sorry, it was IAST, the interactive analysis, and we're going to focus on those after 2020. But it's very exciting to be able to jump to that 75% and be identified as a application security testing leader. Mark mentioned this at the beginning. Our focus initially was breadth. We're definitely going deep now on secure. And how we're going to get there, here's a nice picture. By the way, the arrow points left to help with our shift left story as well. But within SAST, we're looking to expand multiple languages, so support more than we do today, as well as begin to apply machine learning to be able to identify root cause issues and help people fix their software faster. In DAST, I've talked to several of you, and you've raised concerns about our false positive rate. We're looking to eliminate that in 2020, as well as begin to support API testing for companies that are API first. And then the last one I want to highlight for you is dependency scanning. Today we have a very limited language support. We're looking to expand that greatly, as well as increase our database of vulnerabilities so we can identify more dependencies when there are issues. So shifting security left, our goal is to be able to bring testing as close to the developer as possible. This means allowing them to see the results, their security results based off their last commit, so they can see, here's the Delta code change I made, and here's the security issues that may have come up from that. This allows them to work within their context, identify what needs to be addressed, and then address it quickly. I want to highlight one thing. So back at the beginning, when I had the data breach stats up, it was $3.9 million to recover from a data breach. That was the average last year. If people start testing earlier and they're able to find the issues sooner, that saves them money. Early detection is the key to being a more secure company. This is our MR widget, in case you have not seen it before. And we've already begun that shift left, as Sid and Mark have talked about earlier. On there, you can see within the context the developer works, there's a spot where they can see the security findings from that Delta change they made from their commit. Also, we introduced security gating, which means that the company can set a threshold in which a developer is allowed to merge code with a security finding. And if not, they can go and get approval if something needs to be merged for some other reason and take that risk of that security issue. Our security dashboard continues to grow. Recently, we added scoring, kind of like the collegiate scoring, A through F, on projects within a group. And this allows people to see which projects need the immediate attention so they can prioritize what they're going to fix next. Throughout the rest of this year, we're looking to add more historical reporting, as well as heuristics to help them work in a risk-based model. That's the most common for enterprises today, where they need to be able to prioritize what they're going to do next and what can wait. And this does tie back to the stuff that Josh and Eric talked about, because as we continue to grow this, that compliance component will be there as well. So they can say, hey, I need to address that to stay compliant, say to PCI or SOX. On our customer's journey to Ultimate, we want to support them as they go from whether it's core or premium all the way to Ultimate. Our goal is to be a leader, as I said earlier, in AST, and every category we have in secure, we want to make lovable. However, customers today could be using pre-existing tools, and we want to be able to support them on that Ultimate journey. What we're focused on this year is adding standard APIs, as well as a security reporting framework, so that way our CI can kick off the external tool, and that external tool can send the results back in. So that way the customer in that Ultimate experience can see security findings for everything they're doing within the merger control widget, as well as on the dashboard. We want to provide a first-class experience in Ultimate, and we want that to be seamless for the customer so they don't have to worry about going to all the disparate tools that Mark talked about earlier. And there are several. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Very exciting. We do have some available today, so if you look at the technology page, but there are multiple vendors who have reached out about wanting to do their integration, and we're enabling them to do that without our development team needing to do that work. The last thing I just wanted to touch on, we started announcing last year we're moving SaaS to core, and secure to core, and several of you raised concerns about us diluting the value of Ultimate. So on the left there, you can see what we're talking about bringing to core. It's our open source scanners, and the results for those will be available in the artifact library. That allows us to focus on our open source stewardship and make security accessible. However, when you shift over to the right, we're looking to bring an enterprise level security experience in Ultimate. And a lot of the stuff I've talked to you today about, whether that is the MR widget, the dashboard, the third-party integrations, the use of machine learning to help people optimize and find their issues faster, all those things would be experiences just within Ultimate. And that way we can provide that enterprise class experience our customers are asking for. So before I hand it back to Mark, I do want to let you know there's a slide that's in the deck that's hidden, so when you get a chance to look at that, it's the roadmap for Secure and Defend. In this 5 minutes, I've only talked to you about Secure, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on with Defend as well. So please look at that. If you have any questions, let us know. Back to you.
Thanks, David. Thanks, David. That was great. We all know security is really important. Show of hands, who thinks right now application security testing specifically, is already a critical part of your sales process? Good, good. Because I think we should be talking about every customer. Every customer is facing these challenges, and it's already really critical, and we're not even at a lovable maturity level. We've got so much to go there. All right, next up is Gabe, and we're going to be talking about planning and how we're going in depth there.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, let's talk about plan. I think the one-year goal is pretty straightforward. We want to be able to compete and win against entrenched competitors in the marketplace like Jira, Rally, version 1. I'm not even going to ask for a show of hands about how many people have success selling plan at enterprise scale right now. And that's our focus for this year. To do that, we'll be focusing on a few key capabilities that I want to talk about. Roadmaps are a pretty big deal. They provide visibility and insight up top, but also help make sure everybody's in line. Every team has the same question they want to ask: are we on track? And we're going to solve for that by making roadmaps more actionable, by bubbling up progress information from issues, sub-epics, all the way up to the roadmap view, and making it really easy to drill down into problem areas so that you always know, are we on track, and are we doing what we said we were going to do, and are we making progress? I talked to a customer a couple weeks ago, and they said if they had a better integrated requirements management solution, it would have saved them several $1 million a few months back because of a critical failure. Highly regulated industries understand the value of this, but we're taking a very modern approach where we also want to support other use cases like user journey mapping or laying out jobs to be done in tasks. GitLab's single application and unified data model opens the door for really rich interactions with other stages. For example, we can verify requirements during build time within the pipelines by tying back to the test cases that implement them. We can report on exceptions and surface vulnerabilities in a requirements code. And we can link metrics such as user behavior or underlying performance concerns within the context of the requirement itself. I think we have enough lists in GitLab, so we're focusing on making this a really visual, context-driven experience, so it's easy to surface insights about requirements and all the underlying systems that implement them. By the way, that's ultimate only, and I'll be a very big value driver there. Epics, so they've been in Ultimate for a while, but they have the ability to provide a lot more value than just Ultimate customers. We're bringing single-level group epics to Premium as a way to drive upsells from Core and Starter. We found that most Ultimate customers use epics in the multi-tier sense, like traditional portfolio planning, and we don't expect that to change, and we're not changing that whatsoever. But we do believe this will help provide a powerful upsell path as GitLab naturally expands within an organization. I've gone through the pain of seeing customers manage their sprint and product increment planning process in spreadsheets and all of the related metrics, and it's painful. It's really inefficient. And it's my goal and our goal within Plan to make that spreadsheets obsolete by the end of the year. To do that, we'll be focusing on better reporting, such as surfacing team velocity and cumulative flow diagrams, making sprints first-class objects within GitLab, and enabling teams to conduct product increment planning efficiently so they feel at home practicing safe or less within GitLab. By the end of the year, we'll provide native support for Scrum, Extreme Programming, and Kanban. Another big ask from customers has been enforced workflows for issues and merge requests, especially within larger organizations. Things like gated checkpoints and approval processes are really important for helping maintain standards and quality. We're going to start working on a solution for this in the coming months, including tying workflows back into cycle analytics and the value stream reports that we've mentioned before. We found a lot of organizations currently use AHA for strategic initiatives and roadmaps, but they all have complained that they're never up to date. Teams aren't going back and updating them because the data is in a different system. It's disconnected from where the devs are working on implementation issues and user stories. And we want to enable customers to set strategic initiatives within GitLab and goals so that everyone has a clear understanding on why we're doing what we're doing
and what success looks like. We want to be able to enable them to map initiatives and goals to the implementation roadmap within GitLab, and improve alignment and reduce the burden of maintaining status and progress reports across disparate systems. This is a key value driver for Ultimate, and it will enable GitLab to serve more and new personas.
Thanks, Dave. We've got Sarah here to talk about operations.
Thank you, Mike. Awesome. I am so excited to be here today. 2020 is going to be an enormous year in the operations section, which is the configure and monitor stages. So for context, we own Kubernetes configuration, management and monitoring, application performance monitoring, and incident management. The operations space is already occupied by a number of strong players. Splunk, Datadog, Red Hat, Chef, names everybody knows. What this means is we need to be simply targeted in our investment. I want to make clear that this investment will be small, but strategic. We are starting now so that in a year, when a prospect comes to you and says, GitLab, we are all in on cloud native, we've already built that operations platform for you within GitLab to sell. So there's a few key opportunities that we're well positioned to take advantage of. And full ownership DevOps teams, developers are king. They have more say than ever before in the tools they use to build technology. But many of these DevOps transformations are hindered by a lack of IT operations skills in those development organizations. They're ready to close the gap. Their culture is ready to shift. But team members simply don't have the skills to run and maintain the services they're writing code for. To ease this pain, we are focusing our tools on enabling those developers to perform operational tasks alongside writing code. We are uniquely positioned to be successful here, to solve problems for both jobs, because we are that single application. A tool like Datadog will not be able to solve this problem because they are not that complete tool chain. Next, there's a clear winner in cloud native as an architecture that speeds up cycle time. Organizations have flocked to Kubernetes as a result of that, a tool we invested in well ahead of the game. And finally, as you've heard many times today, our source code management and continuous integration tools, well-loved, well-used in market, are going to form the foundation upon which we expand into infrastructure and observability as code. So where's the market today? Organizations are seeking tools that help them to simplify their DevOps transformations and launch new DevOps teams. GitLab's ahead of that market, and we can see that in our SCM and CI heritage. The market's evolving, and we know what comes next. As companies become more comfortable with shipping faster and faster, new concerns are going to emerge from their IT tool chains, changing what they need. As soon as they master CI, they'll be ready to close the loop with DevSecOps. Soon thereafter, we're going to see it be commonplace to manage their infrastructure as code. When your customers come to you and ask about containerizing legacy applications or what would it take to move to the cloud to increase operational efficiencies, we will have reached cloud native. That is where GitLab will shine as an operations platform. That is where we are going to win. We're not there today, but we'll be ready to meet the market when it arrives. So in 2020, our mission is to drive cloud native adoption within our customers, but via tools that enable developers to wear the hat of that operations or that DevOps engineer. We are excited to work with Terraform this year to provide a fully integrated experience for all of those organizations who are already managing their infrastructure as code within GitLab. Additionally, we will be investing in incident management. Imagine if there was just one tool an engineer on call had to investigate while triaging incidents. Starting with the incident, they could navigate to the metrics, to the logs, traces, errors that their application has thrown, which will drastically reduce time to resolution within that single application. Teams rooted in DevOps, who are focused on shipping fast, will need a way to efficiently feed system and application improvements back into the plan stage. In operations, we are laser focused on streamlining this experience so that the individuals who write and run the code can also contribute to the design and resilience of the product itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. As she pointed out, it's a strategic investment here in ops. Ops is one of those areas where it's a little farther down your customer journey, but it really ties everything together and really makes DevOps happen. Incident management, where you can finally see everything happen all at once. It'll be transformative when that happens. All right, next up, we've got Sam. He's going to talk about a special topic, actually, here, what the growth team is up to, or what I like to say is making it easier for your customers to give us money.
Thanks, Mark. So to get started, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what is a growth team? We're here to simplify and automate as much as possible so the sales team can continually hit it out of the park. Now, the growth team is made up of 6 core areas: acquisition, conversion, expansion, retention, and telemetry, and fulfillment. Now, we're focused throughout the funnel so that we can continually make it easier for our users and our sales team to use GitLab and make it easier for our customers to upgrade and renew. Now, as we've come up to speed as a group, we've noticed some core areas of our product are just hard to use, and we want to fix that. Now, that starts with making it easy to sign up. So we've designed a new pricing page that focuses on jobs to be done and allows our customers to see the value that GitLab provides and combines self-hosted and .com. And through our testing, we've actually found it increases the likelihood that people are going to select those buy now buttons. So this is in testing now. We hope for it to be live in the coming months. Now, when someone actually clicks that buy now button, these are the actual steps that they have to take today to actually buy. It's a lot, right? Right? So we want to make it dead simple for somebody to sign up for a paid GitLab account from our website. And I'm excited to announce that this is live to 10% of .com visitors today, and in 4 screens, a user can now buy GitLab from our website. And did you notice they don't have to go into the portal to buy? Now, when somebody does actually go into the portal, we want to make that a good experience for their customers. So we're in the process right now of visually redesigning all of the pages within the customer's app and increasing the usability of that app. And all of these changes will be live in the next few releases. Now, when somebody actually goes to renew, we want to make that as easy as possible as well. So we're changing the way that our banners are structured so they're targeted to admins. They include a call to action, and they ignore if somebody has auto renew already on so we don't bother them. And that CTA will actually take them directly to the license and or subscription so that they can renew. When they get to that renewal page, we actually want to show them what they need to do to ensure that that license key doesn't error out. So we're going to provide much more information on that page so they actually know what they should be inputting to ensure that it doesn't error out. And that includes making sure that our license counts in the app are accurate. Now, when it comes to doing true-ups, we also want to make it easier for you guys as well. So we've added overuse.com and self-managed license reports, new columns on the host page, and an MD5 search. And when you're prospecting, we want to make it easier for you as well. So we've added the ability to filter by CE and EE within the version app. Now, when it comes to working with free users, we want to make it easy for them to also see the value in our paid tiers. So I'm excited to announce that we're in the process this week of starting to explore implementing paywall states within the free product to show some of our most popular paid features. That will start with buy now and start trial CTAs, but we're also going to be testing adding talk to sales buttons so that you can get qualified leads directly from within the app. Now, let's be honest, there's some things that we just need to fix, and we're going to do it. We've heard a lot of reports lately about licenses that just have errors or just not working, and we're going to fix those things. It's going to take us a little time, but that's one of our main focuses for this year. We'll get those fixed. Now, in terms of true-ups, when it comes to .com, we want to automate those. So what we've started by renewing .com subscriptions at their current user count instead of their original, which will generate millions of dollars in IACV. And we're working to move towards a prorated model so that people are being charged as they add users, and we can effectively eliminate .com true-ups. Now, part of our long-term vision here is this idea of cloud licensing. We want to get to a world where we have up-to-date information about our user counts, and we no longer have to troubleshoot or generate license keys. In the future, we'll allow our customers to send that information to us. That'll allow us to automate renewals and explore options like proration. But one thing to note is that if a customer is in a closed network, we'll still let them use our current system. But we want to automate this experience for as many customers as we can. And lastly, we're here to support you guys. So if you have any ideas or things you think we can improve, we can make it better for you and our customers, reach out. We'd love to talk with you. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. A lot of applause in that section. It's really good to hear about greasing the wheels of commerce, making things easier. So there is one more special topic we want to talk about today. We heard from the pre-SCO survey that you wanted to hear about Ultimate. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ultimate here. And hopefully by now y'all realize that Ultimate is pretty key to making the big bucks, right? That's where Ultimate is a big jump in price from Premium, but it's also a huge jump in value. It really makes a difference for our customers, for the organizations. So really this segment right now is really just a plug for Cindy and Salmia's breakout session tomorrow. I highly recommend y'all go there. I stole these slides from them, so you'll see them again there. But just to touch on a couple parts here. So Ultimate makes customers more efficient, right? With insights and portfolio management, great operations features for Kubernetes and incident management. And then the real kicker, of course, is security. Showing scan results right in a merge request and now a security dashboard so you can understand the security of all of your projects all at once. I mean, that stuff's killer. But now where are we going with Ultimate? So I'm personally excited about a couple items on this slide. So value stream management and compliance. Now, value stream management, customers, I hear from the cab all the time that they're struggling trying to understand their own cycle times, how their value goes from planning through to delivering to customers, understanding all the analytics around that, managing those processes. And we can provide that insight because we are the complete DevOps platform. So we have all that data, and we can show it sort of end to end. Compliance is also similar. Because you've got a complete DevOps platform, all your processes can be in there, we can help you make sure that you're compliant on those processes with government issues or your own organization's compliance concerns. So I really love that. The other thing about compliance is that while it works best, of course, if you've got the whole DevOps solution, the whole DevOps process in GitLab, you don't have to. You can start smaller. So wherever you're at, if you just want to do compliance for where your source code comes from, something like that, you can do that. But we'll scale with you when you're ready. So that might make it a bit of an easier sell, actually, for Ultimate, because you don't need even CI to make it work. There's also a ton of security features coming that I know our customers are going to be really excited about. If you want to learn more, I really do suggest you go to the breakout session, and we'll have a lot more discussion there. All right, so as we come to a close, I want to say thanks again to everyone from the product team for showing us what's coming up. I can't wait to see some of these things in production and test them myself. We're really looking forward to our customers getting their hands on them. So let's get the product team back out here. How much time do we have for Q&A? Is it like 10 minutes left? So there's 2 mics out there. If everybody's got questions, step up and form a line. If you've got any questions, oh, good. There's chairs. Thank you. I guess everybody's lined up behind Reb. All right, Reb, go ahead. Kick it off. Oh.
I don't know. I thought someone here, by
go.
magic, through the magic of radio, we got turned on. I loved all the stuff that I heard about. One interesting thing, we've got a lot of big customers who are using a lot of Microsoft products and a lot of .NET, and we hear .NET all the time. What are we doing about being able to get some of those people onto our stuff?
Do you want to take that one?
So
Don't all talk at once.
I can talk from the secure perspective. So supporting .NET for SAS scanning is coming out here shortly. That'll help on that side. I think some of the stuff that Eric and Josh talked about will address the other side of it.
Yeah, I think we're working on areas that are moving the ball forward across a number of the stages. So I know NuGet repository support is coming soon, which is big for Windows developers. That should be coming in 12.8, I think, or 12.8. And we're also improving our VS Code extension, so developers like to work in VS Code can get some improvements there with being able to comment on merge requests and things like that. That just shipped. I think there's other areas maybe as well in Eric's stage.
Yeah, so we've also recently formed a new templates team, and there you went. A new templates team in the verify stage that is going to be focused on providing .NET templates. And as you saw, we also are investing into Windows shared runners as well, and auto-scaling for those runners too.
Cool.
Okay.
Could you just introduce yourself? Say your name,
Chris Graham. I'm a Sal in the Carolinas. Really excited about the changes coming to the renewals and the true-up processes. That's really exciting. Along with that, when a customer goes to .com, they add a new user, and we prorate that amount. Is that IACV? How is that recognized for the sales teams? Is it?
That is a good question. I don't know. We're in the early stages of figuring out how that kind of automated process will work. But I think that's something that we'll absolutely be looping in finance and the leaders in sales to make sure that you guys are taken care of.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon Greenwell, part of the Strategic Acceleration team. First of all, thank you guys so much for all the efforts that you're putting forth. You're definitely making all of our lives easier, and we're excited to see where that goes this year. The question I have is more directed at Eric. The LFS stuff that you were talking about, I'm very excited about that because I run into people that are on Portforce all the time. It's kind of the necessary evil, right? Nobody really enjoys that product, but that's what they have to use to be able to support the large binaries. I'm curious, from the advances that we're making pertaining to LFS, how far are we in terms of bridging that gap for being a viable solution moving forward to move away from it?
Yeah, good question. So we're actually moving away from LFS as a way of kind of supporting those larger repositories with large binary files. LFS is It's an okay solution, but it really locks you into making that design decision on which large files to put into LFS really at the time of project creation, because it's just really hard to move them in later or move them out later. Because the way Git works, it maintains the history. So if you put a file that starts small and then it gets to be really big over time and it's in LFS, like, guess what? Every time you clone that repository, you're grabbing the entire history of that file down as a clone, and it doesn't work. It's not a solution that really scales, especially if you want to maintain Git history. And so we're moving to a partial clone-based approach, which lets you put everything inside of Git. The other problem with LFS too is it just makes you have to think. There's a cognitive load there that you have to plan exactly how you want to manage this stuff, and you have to maintain the pointers. It's not a great experience. We think our customers should just be able to put everything into Git, and then if they don't want to grab that file or the history for a large binary file or something like that, we should let them have those options. And so today you can use partial clone inside of GitLab already. So you can go check out and you can say, hey, don't give me blobs, or give me blobs that are like 1 meg or less, and it already works. And then what will happen is you'll go and you'll clone your repository, and then as a secondary check, if you say like, hey, exclude blobs that I didn't need, if it actually needs those blobs later, it'll go and grab those. And then we're also going to combine this with sparse checkout, which is really more like on the client side, to help customers say like, just give me like 1 level deep in my abstract syntax tree, or 1 level deep of history. And so that combined with partial clone should really be the way that we're moving this forward. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, the only reframe I would have is that going to be a viable alternative, I think, moving forward, like in terms of getting people to make the move from Perforce over to GitLab, over to Git as a solution? Do you feel that that's like a step in the right direction, or something that is potentially going to be an alternative solution for those folks in the near future?
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen. I would never stand up here and say like that's 100% the right solution. Like we'd have to go and bring us along into those engagements that you have. If for some reason partial clone isn't working, or there's another, I guess, consideration there, we'd have to cross that bridge at that time and see if that can work. But we think that from the future of how large files should work in Git, we really are investing into partial clone, and it's an upstream Git feature that we've contributed to heavily.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks.
Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, this is directed to everyone on the stage. First of all, absolutely fabulous presentation. The content is absolutely great. The question is, we've heard some wonderful things about the next 12 months, and from a scaling perspective, how do we deliver this information to our customers? And I have an idea. Can I ask each one of you and your category owners to put together a customer-centric presentation of what you're going to be delivering over the next 12 months so that we can begin to provide that information to our customers directly, and so that we can inform them of where we're going? Otherwise, it's difficult for us to have a level and depth of conversation, unless you want us to invite you into every call that we have, and that's not scalable. As much as I'd like your participation, I think there's a better, more efficient way to go. So that's really my ask.
I guess my response to that is I think we can absolutely deliver something like that. Yeah, so I would say like I would commit to doing that, especially for all the people up here. I'm bringing you along with me, but I don't know if anyone else has.
That's awesome. The sales guy in me is now asking about when should we expect it.
I mean, if there's specific things you want to know on timeline, we can probably answer that. But to say we probably don't have a document that's available.
The planning is really incredible, and I didn't know much of that. So now that we have an idea of what we didn't know, I think our customers will benefit greatly. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Thanks.
Hello, I'm John May. I'm a Sal. If you haven't figured out by now, Reb and I are tag teaming you until we just beat you in a submission for our customer requests. Now, I wanted to ask actually more, David, on around some of the things that you're doing around security. We see GitHub and some of our competitors buying and acquiring companies, and we've always taken the approach of we build everything. So how open are we to actually acquiring versus build?
Yeah, so I would say we're open to acquisitions. I think for secure, we're kind of taking a three-pronged approach. One is leverage open source where we can. Next, build what we need to build that's not there, and then look at what we could acquire to kind of round out the portfolio. I think the aggressive goals we have for this year Some of that's going to be Mark and I talking about opportunistic acquisitions so we can fill in the portfolio faster. But it's definitely a combination of those three.
Thanks.
I also, by the way, want to commit Eric to doing all of the category slides for sales by the end of the week, so expect an email from him.
Thanks, Eric.
You're welcome, Eric.
Yeah, hello, this is Rene speaking from Germany. I'm a Sal, and I also like the stuff that I've seen today, and I think the customers will love to see that as well. The question I have goes a little bit in the direction of I see a lot of stuff happening in regards of high availability. A lot of customers I'm dealing with who have on-premise or self-managed and use high availability or think of using it. One topic they try to achieve with that is not so much the scalability effect, but the backup effect. And I want to point out one thing as a question. Do we have something in mind of how we are going to support like really offline backup stuff?
Yeah, so we have, we moved backup and recovery, the category, into the Geo team. And so they will start working on it and moving the ball forward in the backup and recovery. I know right now the current state isn't great, where it takes, depending on the size of the instance, it can take hours to back up and hours to restore. Yeah. So they're working on improving that. They haven't quite started yet. It's a new category for the team, but we wanted to make sure it had an owner, and so they can actually set a direction, look into it, and determine a proper path forward. So I would look for improvements to backup and recovery, like offline backup and recovery this year. I would also say that we're also looking at improving the workflow of using Geo as a hot backup. So for example, we have customers where they want to make sure they're up all the time and doing a maintenance window to take a backup and then test the backup and then only wait until then after that you do an upgrade to bring everything back online is not great. And so we're also looking to have Geo act as sort of like a warm backup as you do an upgrade, and that way you don't have to have this kind of maintenance period because you can always, if you need to, for some reason, fail back over to Geo. And so we're also working on having that be a happy path for larger customers who want to make sure they have really true zero downtime, but also very low risk on upgrades.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Reb again. We have a lot of large customers who have a lot of interesting use cases of either trying to get things onto .com or off of .com or combine instances and stuff. And when you talked about importing earlier, are there any plans to do things like export and import groups or allow you to take your entire installation and put it into a group within .com? I see that as being real key to allowing people the flexibility of moving things to where they need to go in quite a few of our prospects.
Yeah, I can take that one. So group INE or group import-export is the #1 priority for the import team right now. I see David in the front row. Obviously, we've been collaborating very heavily with his team to do this for several very important strategic customers. We also recently started a working group so that we can not only get those customers migrated, but also ensure that the tools that we're building to deliver a group INE experience work really, really well. And so, obviously products involved there. It requires TAMs and CS and professional services, but that is the #1 priority of the import team right now, ahead of a Jenkins and a Jira importer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jefferson SA from mid-market. My question had to do with, because we have categories and we even have maturity levels and application types and personas, what's your plan or what do we have in place as far as process to ensure consistency throughout the product, especially when adopting a language framework for a customer, say they use .NET or Python or something like that, and they're coming into their platform is what we're selling it now, right, as a platform. How are we ensuring that when they use it, it's consistent throughout the full, and they can use the full of the product, the entirety of the product, without just pieces like .NET for security, but yet we don't have a package repository, things like that. How are we ensuring the consistency?
So we have a process for UX baselines where we'll actually we'll go through end-to-end experience of the application type, for example, and actually say, okay, I'm a Windows developer, I'm doing .NET, .NET Framework, .NET Core, and I'm going to walk through all of GitLab and make sure we have and essentially find out where the problems are or the gaps are, and then make sure we have issues that are prioritized and open to attack them. And then that's the way that we'll make sure we keep an eye on the end-to-end experience while we continue to iterate and improve the areas that we're already aware of in the various stages for these workflows.
So it looks like our clock's at 0. Lauren, do we have time for one more question? 2 more questions, all right. Go.
Sorry to run everyone over. My name's Yu Chen, Solutions Architect on the Enterprise West team. It's probably mostly for David. I came from the security space, so I was just a little bit curious about fuzzing coming up on the roadmap. Before I asked, I was curious if that was due to kind of market demand, ease of implementation, or what drove the order of operations in that particular feature set.
Sure. So fuzzing for a very long time was kind of like a dark art that hackers used. I won't admit that I had used it in the past that way in my career, but as fuzzing has matured over the last 10 years, it's become a lot more important for companies to do it themselves and validate, again, at every commit. And so we're kind of taking a multi-level approach to rolling out fuzzing. We're first going to focus on fuzzing API architecture. So that'll be a little bit of an easier configuration with a long-term goal of getting into fuzzing protocols and lower-level components of applications over the next 3 years. But I'll speak from experience, being in security as long as I have been. You think everything's fine when you run a SAS scan. You think everything's fine when you run a DAS scan. But they're not necessarily throwing in completely incorrect content. Like, let's say it's supposed to be 4 characters long, and now we're trying to shove an alphanumeric string in there that's longer. That's just an area that people don't always heavily test, and that's why fuzzing is becoming more and more popular. So we want to start with something that's approachable and then work on how we bring in the more complex stuff.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Link Williams, Solution Architect for their public sector. So often we have customers tell us that it's easier to use Google to search our product than our own product. What are our plans to improve search inside of the product?
I have to admit that I'm guilty of using Google to search for things. And we want to fix that. And so we have a team under enablement dedicated to rolling out Elasticsearch on GitLab.com to make sure that we have better indexing and improved performance for search. And this will initially help the what we call advanced global search, which is the kind of instance-wide search that's available. Right now, it's rolling out across a beta group for paid customers on GitLab.com, and we'll be continuing to proceed with the rollout across our paid groups that we have on .com in the coming weeks ahead. So far, it's going really well, and we're continuing to add more and more customers. So for them, they'll be starting to see the benefits here soon. Once we have sort of the advanced global search working well and indexing at scale, I think we may want to look into potentially leveraging it for other areas where you have more tailored searches, right, in your issues workflow and your merge request workflow, because right now those go direct to Postgres, and the free text search in Postgres isn't ideal. That's the journey we're on with search, and right now we're really directly focused on getting the projects indexed on .com for our paid groups, and we're making good progress there, and then we'll move on to other areas.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think are we at time, Lauren? No. Sorry, you're cut off. All right, thank you, everyone. Great questions. And so sorry. And thanks again for the panel. Round of applause for the panel.